This morning, Sean Combs is behind bars, sentenced to 4 years in prison for transporting women and male escorts across state lines for prostitution.
He can't be stopped now, cause it's bad boy for life.
Combs begged for mercy, telling the judge, "I know that I've learned my lesson." But the judge rejected his plea, saying the sentence needed to send a message to abusers and victims alike that exploitation and violence against women is met with real accountability.
It was clear from the judge's remarks that the sentence was driven by the conduct the jury rejected.
Combs was acquitted of sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy, but federal prosecutors argued he deserved 11 years in prison because he inflicted life-altering violence on women. And they said that physical abuse is on video, pointing to this 2016 hotel surveillance footage depicting Combs attacking Cassie Ventura.
Family, what's good? What's good? Welcome back to the channel. Place to conversate. I know it's been a minute since I tapped in with the family. Listen, your man been going through it. I ain't gonna bore you with what I've been going through. Listen, I just wanted to tap in real quick. I ain't gonna talk to you long. I wanted to talk to you about this Puffy situation. Puff Daddy, Diddy, whatever you want to call him. Diddy just recently received a sentence of 4 years. He's going to do a 4-year prison bid, 50 months. My position was and still is that Puffy should have never been convicted in the first place. Not in defense of the man. I'm not defending him whatsoever. I don't feel that the charges that they brought against him held any weight. And I'm going to say it like this. They found him innocent of RICO. They found him innocent of the sex trafficking, fraud, and coercion. But yet, they found him guilty of engaging in transportation and prostitution. It makes no sense whatsoever. That's absolutely absurd. The implication is that Puffy was pimping, right? When you talk about transportation, engaging in the transportation and prostitution, it sounds like somebody's pimping. Or on top of that, how do you find him innocent of sex trafficking, but you charge him with the charge of engaging in transportation and prostitution? The two go hand in hand. They're synonymous with one another, right? I feel that the charge is unfair. I don't think he should have did any time personally. When they found him innocent of the original charges, he should have at least been granted bail. He's got to do a 4-year prison sentence. Then after that, he has to serve 5 years probation and pay a $500,000 fine for a case that they basically built against him that was all about domestic violence. Now, don't get me wrong. If the case was about domestic violence, then yeah, they got a case. If the case was about psychological or sexual abuse, they may have a case. Sexual deviancy. Now, let me back up. Now, everybody's a sexual deviant to some point. Being part of the Bussy Brother Brigade. Now, I'm going to back up off that because in today's society, they endorse that type of behavior. But just let's go with the domestic violence, the physical, psychological, and sexual abuse. Then, yeah, they may have a case there. It might be some substance to that. But everything that they brought, it absolutely didn't make sense. The time doesn't fit the crime. The entire case was built on the whole time about him abusing women. That's it. A domestic violence case. So because of the sensationalism surrounding the trial, the attention, the drama, they just couldn't let him walk. So they had to throw something against the wall and see what stuck. And ultimately, that's what they came up with. Again, I'm not defending Puffy in no means whatsoever. But again, Puffy should be home right now. The bottom line is Puffy was tricking, man. He was tricking his money. And if he wants to trick his money, that's his right. If he likes Bussy, and I said before, he's a repressed homosexual in my opinion. From everything that's come out, he likes to watch men playing their man juice and all kind of carrying on. If that's what he likes to do, that's his business. You know, if he likes to play in man juice and roll around in it and play in it and do all kind of whatever types of sexual deviancy he gets involved in, that's his business. But at the end of the day, he shouldn't be doing time behind it. Listen, man, like I said, everybody has if that's the case, if you're locking this man up for his sexual deviancy, then everybody on the planet Earth that has sex needs to be doing a prison bid right now. Because everybody got something they like to do. Some people are more extreme than others, but it doesn't negate the fact that everybody, man or woman, has some particular type of thing they like to do or done to them. It is what it is. That's human nature. But I have to drive home the point. Puffy was not pimping. And when you hear these charges, the implications are he was pimping. I could see if he was pimping, if he was taking a harem of women or men around from state to state, and he was profiting off that, then that'd be a whole different case. Then, yeah, there would be some substance to that, you know. Then I could see engaging in the transportation of prostitution. But there's no case here. I said it from Jump Street. There was nothing to see here. It was just a lot of sensationalism, a lot of drama. And by it being a celebrity, they had to make something stick. Eddie Griffin said it before. The black man, he ain't never going to make it out clean. They had to find something. And I'm not absolving Puffy because he brought this on himself with his behavior. You know, he thought his money could protect him. And obviously, at the end of the day, you see what happened. But, you know, and this is just strictly my looking through my lens. I'm not saying this is actual facts, but just looking at the timeline, is it a stretch of the imagination to think, you know, because Puffy's problem didn't start until he sued the parent company of Ciroc, Diageo. You know, he brought the lawsuit in June of 2023. And then Cassie brought her lawsuit in November of the same year. And when she brought it, he settled out the next day. So is it a stretch of the imagination to think that Diageo reached out to Cassie? It was like, listen, first of all, they probably looked at him and was like, look, you know what I mean? This dude's getting cute, man. Get the books. Let's open up the books on this dude and see what we got on him. They opened up the books, said, oh, yeah. So he likes to have those, he like to do the freak offs. He like freaking off and all that. And he like to watch the men with the women and all that. Yeah. Who's a little girlfriend? Okay? Yeah, let's have a conversation with her. Probably met with him, was like, listen, we know you got these NDAs, don't worry about that. We're going to take care of you. We're going to break you off this bread. You know what I mean? But we need you to do this, expose this man for what he is. We need to bring all this to light to show exactly what he be up to. Because why was she so emboldened out the blue now to bring a lawsuit? All this so-called abuse that she was enduring all these years, all of a sudden out the blue, she just becomes emboldened to bring a lawsuit against dude. Like I said, I'm not saying it's actual facts. I'm not saying that it happened like that. But is it a stretch of the imagination to think that could be possible? That's plausible? And then, in January 2024, they settled out. So, I don't know exactly how much he got paid, but the lawsuit kind of dissolved and went away. And that's when all these criminal charges started to come about. That's when his whole thing started to spiral after she brought that lawsuit. Like I said, I'm not saying this is just me looking through my lens, but is it a possibility that could have happened? Bottom line is, Puffy should not be doing any time whatsoever. I know a lot of people out here going to disagree with me and be like, oh, he's a monster, he's this. He may very well be all that. But that doesn't mean he needs to be doing time because they never made a case. They brought a case about RICO. They brought a case about sex trafficking, fraud, and coercion. They didn't prove none of that. And at the end of the day, he caught 2 counts of engaging in the transportation of prostitution because he was having some men travel from state to state so he could be involved in some bussy activities. Listen, I know he's down with the Bussy Brother Brigade, and that's his right. This society endorses that type of behavior. Your lifestyle is your lifestyle. I don't knock it. I don't necessarily agree with it, but that's not me to judge. We know what times we live in right now. But if that's what you do, that's what you do. But is it a crime? Is it a crime to engage in Bussy Brother activity? So I asked the question, do you think that the sentence was fair for him to get 4 years? Do you think it was too light of a sentence? Do you think it was too heavy? Or do you feel like me, he shouldn't have been charged at all? Hit me in the comments either way and let me know what your position is. And until next time, family, remember, stay safe and be well.